Thank you very much, my friend Andreas. And I would like, first of all, to say just in Portuguese, buenas tardes, everyone. And it is a privilege and an honor to be here today with you, exchanging with you, on some issues pertaining global and local issues as well. And so I really would like to thank you for making this bridge happen between REDES, West Africa, and also CEB communities. So this is deeply appreciated here. And thank you so much also, Lama, for your kind introduction. And I am really looking also forward, to exploring more possibilities of partnership later. And my talk is focused on, I think it's time now to share my video, right? To share my, my screen. Can you see it?
Not yet.
Right, it's coming.
There, okay, we're good.
Right. Yeah, it's focused on eco-village strategies in Senegal River Valley. And of course, there are so many more initiatives happening elsewhere in Senegal and in the region. But I mean, I just want to, because 20 minutes is relatively short, I would like just to give you a taste of really what's happening on the ground here in this part of Senegal. Well, to complete the introductions, also I was born in the north of Senegal in a very, very small village. And the lady you can see below is the mother of my father, my grandmother. And she lived over a century and some years, and her name is Kumba Kebe. And she was a very strong shepherdess with so many cows, and each cow had its own name, and she knew the history and everything. And then she was more at the service of the cows than the other way around. And when I was a kid, I used to help her, look after her cattle. And of course, we would spend, the whole day, without food and everything. But I mean, she really fed me with the history, with the stories. She told me how it used to be when she was young, etc. And then for me, every day, I spent with her looking after the cattle was a really very important, formative, day. Physical hunger was no longer there because she fed me with so many stories and everything. And of course, she passed away about 8 years ago. And until the very last minute, she was very mentally conscious, alert and present. And, in the area where she, used to live with lions. And then she lived on a place called Elephant Island. She could move from one village to the other without never seeing the sun because it was all covered with long, tall trees and, and so the biodiversity was very, very impressive. And the other elder I would like to introduce to you also is below. Can you see him here? And he's still alive. And this person is in Gede. When you come around, you can see him. And he was attacked by a lion in the late 50s when he was a young shepherd. And then when people tell us these stories now, it's very, very difficult for us to believe in those stories because the reality on the ground is so different from what it used to be, from what these elders have just lived. We are in the Sahel region, and then we are facing so many ecological problems at the moment. The Sahel region is this region just below the Sahara Desert, it rains very little every year. Sometimes, the peak temperatures are around close to 50 degrees Celsius. So don't pay me a visit in May or June. You can come later in the year, in December when it's much cooler. And we have more and more sandstorms. We have more and more also cycles of droughts. And, this year we've had very, very important quantities of rain. So what used to rain in 3 months just rained in just a weekend. And then, of course, today many places in Dakar are flooded. And also the ecosystems in the region now look like something like this in the north of Senegal and also southern Mauritania. And of course, governments have come up with a response, to create what they call a green wall. It's a project of the African Union. It stretches from Senegal, Mauritania, all the way to Eritrea. So people are supposed, to plant trees and stop the advancement, the encroachment of the desert. And of course, this has some successes, but also some challenges because part of the challenges is this is not really fully owned and articulated with the local communities. And also, I'm very, very also delighted to inform you that the former director of the national agency for this Green Wall project is already also part of Red's team, and he is he brings lots of experience and lots of connections also to Red's. So, and Red's, which stands for Network for Ecovillage Emergence and Development in the Sahel, was created not long ago, just about 5 years ago, but I mean, it has benefited from experiences that, happened because, it was just in 2015, we just registered the organization, but I mean, the work had started much longer, much earlier. And then we started, really with Redes, organizing communities around how to regenerate their land, how to produce their own food, because also one of the distressing things of this world is that, we have so many multinationals who tell us what to eat, what our sense of happiness should be, what to wear, I think this is really tyrannical. And at some point, we definitely need to stop and also really think of ways to create our own happiness and not follow what television tells us or what internet or what Monsanto also and other multinationals like this, or also the IMF, or even sometimes also our central government, because our central governments are also very much in connections or under also the oppressions of these multinationals. So we started, creating some projects in several villages, to improve nutrition, to regenerate the land, to create income, and all this really without not much money in our hands, because money sometimes can be an obstacle. And here we really use the energy of the community, the power of the youth, the power of the women, to make things move on the ground. And also, we've been also weaving some strong alliances with local government and also national agencies. For example, with PIMA. PIMA is a Senegalese national agency in charge of developing a Senegalese bordering region. It's called the PIMA. And then also with the mayor of Gamaji, another, and also the mayor of Mauritania, because the idea we have now is to federate 50 villages in Mauritania and 50 villages in Senegal. And then so that we can exchange our experiences, we can also work together to stop desertification and mass poverty and immigration. And also we have very, very inspiring villages that have been very successful, both in Mauritania and in Senegal. And the idea is to use these villages, successful villages, as engines to also bring change in the other villages. So here, when you can see here, this is the transborder hub, Ecovillage hub we are creating. And then we have access to some land in the north of Senegal. We camped in the desert, and then we invited, leaders from the different villages, religious leaders, women leaders, young, youth organizations. And then we we stayed a whole day talking about permaculture, talking about how to come together and work in complete intelligence. We are going to create an emerging food, to create a food forest by River Senegal. And then we had the elders of the community who came to bless the land. So this also to reinforce the commitment of the local authorities and organizations, to this project. And here, this is also part of the transformation. You can see on the top, it's a project that happened in a herding village. And, the president of the women's organization said, now we don't need to, when we go to the market, it's just to buy a fish or some, or meat. I mean, we produce our vegetables together, in our own village. So our life have improved a lot. And then, there are series of trainings so that, to raise awareness and also we'll have some trainings on eco-village design. And also we are in an area where people do not necessarily read, do not necessarily write. So we use theater to change people's behaviors, to change people's, actions on the ground. I may come back to this in a while. So this is a small village in Mauritania. The first picture and Mauritania is much closer to the desert. And what happens, this community, after a series of discussions, series of negotiations, they fenced 18 hectares. So the only investment here was the fence, and the nature did the rest. So in less than 10 years, it became a real forest. The fence was just to keep the animals out so that, the trees can grow. And after that, the animals were reintroduced into this place because they also had, and then because these trees are close to, have become a sanctuary for animals. It has boars, monkeys, bees, and all sorts of, insects. So these nutrients from this forest also feed the fish in the river, and the fish also attract fishing birds, and then the full cycle of life, is back through just this initiative. And also we try to produce our own seeds, train our farmers, and also, really for people also to be able to produce the food that they eat and eat the food they produce without pesticides, without chemicals. And here, because we had also goats going in different places, so we had, our partners from Los Portales in Spain who came to train our women how to make cheese with the goat's milk. And this is very, very successful because it's not known, cheese is not known in this region. And people started producing this, and also some small businesses have already started. Reinforcing also local cereals, and also we have a very strong partnership with Damanhur Ecovillage in Italy. So we organize a couple of food processing trainings for women from different villages. And also this serves really to connect women together, and really, so there's so much solidarity and learning among women, after this. And again here, as I told you, theater to change the way of thinking of people. Theater, for example, against plastics, the importance of education, eco-village design, how to feed children with, how to avoid certain disease, etc. So really, it's been a very important tool that we've been using to change people's, minds and also actions on the ground. And here, part of the projects we're doing is we are building now a trans-border community training center in the north of Senegal, so that, Mauritanians and Senegalese can come together. Because between these two countries, we have an artificial border that is a legacy of the French colonialism. But I mean, these borders have divided families, have separated people with their land. And then one of our objectives is really to bring these families back together. And what was really amazing for me when we were building this, some of the Mauritanian people from the Mauritanian delegation, they've never crossed the border because they were afraid of Senegal. They were afraid of so many things. And then bringing people together is definitely what we try and do. So we've got also a school programs. We build classrooms in places. We distribute, because education is really the tool, number one tool also to change, to get people out of poverty. Here we have usually we get, international students, usually from the US, Senegalese students, and we go to a village and we, together with the youth of this village, we also build a classroom, etc. And REDES also has a very important international service learning program. We receive US students, we recruit an equal number of Senegalese students, and together, they learn from each other and they go and learn from the host families. Because also many of the Senegalese students who live in Dakar don't know much about rural realities. So, and this becomes really a platform where multi-directional learning, take place. So, and then when the students come, they can work with women, they can work with the schools, with their health centers, they can, really support the environmental projects we have. And also in the past 12 months, we have we have dug 27 wells for people to have access to water, for people also to start, small gardens, for people to feed, to give water to quench the thirst of their cattle. Because though we live by the river, it's been very heavily polluted by pesticides and everything. And then this is also part of the solutions that also REDES is bringing into the communities. Yes, again, the same picture here. Yes, you can definitely see how all this is really improving the life of the people, and also helping people also avoid water-related disease. And here is the emerging food forest that we are. It's almost desert, and then the idea is to plant 3,000 trees here, fruit trees, to stop desertification, to produce food, to produce also to regenerate the land. And the project has started today. While I'm talking to you, we are putting a solar water pumping station in this. And then we have already organized campaigns of planting here. And celebrating our cultural heritage, because also globalization is a real challenge to our cultures. People get all sorts of news and all sorts of influences from TVs, from internet and everything. And we want also the people to be really proud of their cultural heritage, of their traditions, of the traditional knowledge, in terms of healing, in terms of really taking care of, and really what's happening in the West in general is not really, is not what people may think. I mean, in the West, in general, people are very are lonely. Though many have access to material wealth and everything, I don't think, this is the kind of development we would like to go into. So Africa needs to create its own development model and not follow what's happening in the US or any other parts of the world. And I don't want to take so much of your time. And so again, we are opening our arms and our hearts, so that we can join our hands and change this world for our children, as Lama has just said, for the children of our children. If you feel also called, you can connect with REDES in some way or the other. And thank you so much for your attention.
It was really wonderful. We want here to do exactly this, but we are really far away from this. But now we can see that it's possible. It's really wonderful. Uh, I think all the people from the 60s, past century, are thinking what to do in this direction, how to gather how to put the people together, and how to find a kind of development different from the Americans. You say, né? You from the Western people. I'm joking with Andreas here, and it's real wonderful. Uh, uh, these activities are in some sense going beyond all the shortcomings of Sahara, of that very this very dry region and poor soil with the poverty and the disinformation, hostile environment, and the illiteracy of the people, and the lack of information, and also with all the burden of internet and TV and multinationals and other kind of solution, and the model of economical model asking the people for enrich, for bring the model of money dominated the minds. And I found really great these movements and this success, we can say, success of the activities. I would like to start asking a question that is very important for us here also. This question is how to put the people together, and when they are together, how to help the people to arrive to a common direction, a common view, how to arrive this common view as a better how to reach this common view, and how to develop from this the activities each one can do. All the time we have these things. In some sense, we can sometimes we can get together. We can make a circle of people, but it's not so easy to make the people reach a common view and share a common view, and from this common view to feel each one engaged in some sense with their abilities in a positive direction. Could you please help us with your experience?
Yeah, thank you so much, Lama. Thank you very, very much. Well, I mean, here in rural Senegal and Mauritania, again, as I said, it's we are in an illiterate context. Again, not many people can speak the official or write the official languages. And again, what's really wonderful about some of these social media networks like WhatsApp, you don't need to read and write. We have so many groups of WhatsApp people, just to share. We use this also as learning tools. People in villages, people have groups, and then we can share lots of ideas. And also there is also a network of community radios that we can also use and talk to the people in their own languages, so that they can also better understand. Also in our traditions, we have people who are known as griots. These are the traditional communicators. In the past, people used to use drums and talk to the people. Yes, yes. I mean, because when, for example, the chief or some community event happened, you know, they would use the drum and the number of the beats, all these technical, so people from far away will know. Now will decode the message. I think, and
Wonderful.
also here, uh, yeah, and here, I mean, women are organized in associations, cooperatives, you know, and youth also are organized in associations. It's just a question of investing so much of time, connecting with these local leaders, and also bringing in also the local authorities. Yeah, and also speaking the language they understand, speaking, showing them the realities, and also getting these elderly people tell us how it used to be long ago, getting also our religious people to tell us what is our duty, what is expected from us, you know, as people with faith, what we should do. And again, in the north of Senegal, it's a very, very open Islam, which has nothing to do, of course, with what's happening in some other places, because in Islam, life is sacred. Life is sacred, and ecology is really a fundamental also aspect of Islam. And I have written myself an article on this, so we can share. I think, you know, there are different entries. We can mobilize people, and also at the district level, at the village level, at the community level, between communities, and even between countries. So gradually, and you know, everyone brings in their contribution, and then it becomes a reality.
Wonderful. And you mentioned sometimes about different moments. You mentioned about the whole of the women. In some sense, it's important itself, but then I would like to ask you the whole of the men also, and why you mentioned so many times the women.
I, yeah, actually, we Africans, we really do not understand all this movement, empowering women, empowering, you know, because here, yeah, because here in Africa, actually, the power is in the hands of the women. Women are the ones who educate families. Women
Uh-huh.
are the ones who manage the resources. Women are the ones who pull the, in a really positive way, you know, the threads of communities. I mean, they are real power. And men are just given an honorary, you know, sort of position. They are the heads of the families, but in fact, the power is already in the hands of women. And then it's the school, the French, the Western school that have completely changed the roles in the past, yes, in the mid 30s up to now. And then suddenly women found themselves, you know, behind scenes in different ways. So actually, I mean, if in these rural areas where we do not have a big impact of the foreign schools, I mean, women are still very, very strong figures. They are the ones who make the decisions. And when we know how to approach and talk to them, we know how to get them involved in some of these projects. Once they own it, so yeah, they just turn it into a success.
I found it great. You are using theater for communication and teaching the people. It's really good, wonderful. I can imagine it. And
Yes.
I'm glad to hear that the Islam is a tradition that are connected with nature and the protection of nature. And it's wonderful, really. Then um, why it happened to that region? Why the nature was destroyed? What happened?
Yeah.
I ask
Thank you for
you
this
because
question. Yeah.
in some sense we are seeing now the destruction of Amazon basin, the
Right.
Amazon forest.
Yeah.
And Lutzenberger in the 60s, he said the soil of Amazon is very fragile. if we don't keep it fragile, if we don't keep the forest, we can develop a kind of desert there also, and a desert. And I remember him to discuss about the similarities with Africa and how it happened with Sahara. And old historians, they remember Herodotus, for example. He mentioned how it was wonderful that region of, they have many crops, they are a rich region. And then we see now that big desert. And in some sense, we have to learn how not to do this here. Then it's very valuable, very important to hear from you what what happened there and what you are doing now, because you can teach us what not to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. Thank you very much for this question. And well, I think the any place on earth can become a potential, can become a desert if people do not take care of the natural resources, etc. And also the deserts also can be turned green. There is no fatalism around this. So we've got a great example of Sekhem, which is in Egypt, in complete desert. And today, when you go there, it's really paradise on earth. And also, as people in this desert also can really turn this into a green, very productive, without using chemicals, without using pesticides. So if they can do it there, it means also we can more easily do it in our own region. Now, the reason why the area has become completely desert, I think the reason is simple: greed. Human beings have been very greedy. All these multinationals, they came to convince our governments that what we needed was to create 2 dams on the river Senegal, 2 dams. And then, of course, this brought a lot of heavy loans also on the shoulders of our countries. So 2 dams which completely killed the river because, the water became stagnant and parasites started developing. And also to pay back for these dams, we needed, to cut down trees to grow cash crops like rice, like a tomato, like a sugar cane in this area. So, I mean, it was a very, very stupid, strategy in an area that is very close to the desert to cut down trees to plant other things. Because, I mean, this area is naturally an agroforestry place. We should have really reinforced the existing trees and plant other fruit trees so that the desert does not develop. But again, it's the farming practices because not long ago, we used to produce about 40 years ago. We used to produce 100% of organic millet. All our food was 100% organic. Our food, and also we use the traditional techniques, to produce a diversity of food. And today, because we have introduced tomato and all these cash crops using lots of pesticides, what happens is the land over the years has been terribly degraded. And also because people cannot read, cannot write, they use all these chemicals and poison themselves, poison their families, poison the soil. And the yields have gone really, really, really small at the moment. And then, but really what is really, really good is at the moment is the communities have taken the awareness in the communities is really growing. They know sometimes, the combination of our central governments, multinational, the international financial institutions, these interests, do not always match with the interests of the local people. There is a very, very high level of awareness among the communities at the moment. And the people are not ready to follow up, the models that have been imposed on us at the moment.
Yes, I understand. I am glad to understand that the people from Africa now can really look with wise eyes what is happening in the world in some sense. Because when we are here, we feel that the Africans may be far away from all these questions. And for us, it's wonderful to see they are in front of the solutions and are bringing very good contribution how to deal with these problems. And, like pioneers, it's wonderful to see this. And I think, yes.
If you just allow me to add something like this, I think at the moment, you know, all these negative voices and powers are getting so loud that some of the initiatives, the community initiatives like yours, like ours, like, you know, what is also happening in other places on earth are not heard. And then I think now is really the time when in the history, at this point in our global history, that indigenous communities around the world come together and lead the world out of this crisis. Our voices need to be heard, and our actions also need to be seen everywhere in a very peaceful, loving, fraternal way. Because if we just give space to all these harmful forces, then you know, there will be more destruction. Another idea I would like to add is, when, for example, you go to southern, in Casamance, in my own country, when someone dies, people bury the dead person with seeds. And then these seeds, when these seeds grow into a tree, the tree is seen as a reincarnation of this person. Wow. And then, because all the people are buried together, so we have sacred forests. You know, most of the time, you know, international development experts, when they come, they just see a forest. They don't see how sacred these forests are. And yeah, and also, yeah, and really? These are the places, temples, where initiations take place.
Really, it's a good idea. Yeah, so yeah. Wonderful.
Yeah, and then also, when for marriages, for example, for marriages, the new married are given seeds for the first year. When they start their family, they do not depend on others. So it means, as marriages happen in different places, in different directions, the seeds also travel in different directions. And I think, I mean, we as Africans, also modern Africans, we need also to reinforce these traditional practices.
Wonderful. I would like to hear you about two things. For example, Islam is in some sense is a new religion, like the Christians also are a new religion in Brazil, for example. And the traditional religion of the community, how does it? How do you deal with them? How are they engaged in this? And it's one question. And related to this, I would ask to you about the borders. I know that you have tribes, cultural, natural nations, and languages. And usually the national borders doesn't take in account this kind of natural nations, natural citizenship. How do you deal with this?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, yes. For the first question, you know, Islam was introduced into my country around the 10th century. It started in my own region in the north of Senegal, very, very peacefully through trade. And then it spread across the country in Senegal. And then in Senegal, we have 90% Muslims and 5% Christian, but definitely 100% traditional. Because whether you are Christian, whether you are Christian or Muslim, you know, there is a very important traditional component to it. And there is a thinker from Mali who said Islam is like a river. So like water in a river, it takes the colors of the rocks it crosses. And here, because also we have a long, peaceful traditions of sharing of, for example, Africans are known to be great travelers. Immigration is not really towards Europe or towards other places, but I mean, here in Africa, we move quite a lot. And we don't have hotels, we don't have guest houses, we don't have use hostels. And then because every house is a potential hotel to anyone. You can come to a place, you can open, you can have food, stay as long as you wish, and then go. And of course, this is disappearing now in urban communities where we are getting more westernized. Still today in Dakar, I can go to any place and have lunch there, yeah. So it's the Islam we have here is really, really very, very peaceful. And then it is completely different from all these manipulations in other places where people are just wearing their Muslim, to kill. Even in Islam, it is forbidden to kill an insect because it is the creature of God, and then it has a soul, and you cannot kill it. An insect, and let alone a human being, let alone, all this. So for us, really these terrorists in some other places are not Muslim, they're terrorists, simply. It's simple as that. Yes. And yeah, and we have, for example, in the past, some of our leaders who fought against the French, Bamba was like Mahatma Gandhi. He used non-violence, to fight against French colonialism. And today, this is one of the most dynamic religious brotherhoods in this area, the Murids. And then I guess you may come across some of them in Brazil or some other places. Now the borders, the borders were decided in the 19th century, 1885. Some French and Germans and Europeans, sat somewhere in Berlin. And then with a pencil, they just drew, okay, you will take this, I will take this, like vultures, saying, I will take this part and you will take this part. And then, of course, they divided families, they separated people from their land. And even here at the border in the north of Senegal, you have people on the other side who have their land on this side. You have and vice versa. You've got the same family, exactly the same family, that is divided into two. Some have become Mauritanians and the other have. But I mean, really fortunately, up to the 80s, people in the minds of the people, these artificial borders were non-existent. People would just cross the border in every direction and everything. But I mean, just maybe in 1989, because also of the collapse of the ecosystems and the herding, the conflicts with herders and farmers, we almost went to war with Mauritania. But I mean, fortunately, the communities have understood this is not the way to go. We need to create our future through collaboration, partnerships, and revive also the connections of the past.
Okay, one question more. I think it's taking long because I don't know if we have this time, but I would like to ask you another question.
Would you rather if I give maybe much shorter answers so that you can ask all the questions you would like to?
Okay, about for example, now it's said that the people from this region is under pressure from the terrorists or war chiefs, war groups. Is it true? How to deal with them?
Yeah, I think Europe in general has a great responsibility in this, because as everyone knows that Africa is really rich with so many different sorts of minerals. The French government killed Gaddafi in Libya, and Libya had lots of petrol, lots of weapons. It just spread all over, the region. And of course, because it just whets the appetites of so many people, But at the time, in Senegal and Mauritania are relatively safe from this, where we have our eco villages and everything. It's very, very peaceful. So we just hear it from far away. And of course, it's just economy, controlling the economy, dominating the economy, because also a lot of petrol, that's a very bad news for us. I mean, a lot of petrol gas has been discovered in Senegal. Up to recently, we were a very, very peaceful country, but I mean, again, Russians are interested, Americans are interested, Chinese are interested. We have so many problems of land grabbing and everything. And it's just because the West and the East are interested in, it's just, the old colonial song that is going on. Here in Africa, for example, we have, in West Africa, we have what we call joking relationships. Joking relationships when between the different ethnic groups, and people meet even for the very, very first time, they can talk to each other and joke, make fun of the other. And the other, when they know that you belong to the other community, they have no right to get angry. They laugh. And this made communication much easier.
Yes.
And we solve our conflicts. We solve our conflicts through that. And this exists between villages, neighboring villages. This exists between different ethnic groups. This exists inside families. And then really also, the West says Africa is poor, but we don't feel we are poor. We feel we are very rich with our traditions. We feel we are very rich with our soil, our technologies, we have absolutely no complex, to nourish. The West, okay, has its own way of seeing things, but I mean, we don't have to take this and then, as no. And then, with these, Senegal is a very stable country. So these joking relationships also exist in Mali. It exists in other places, in Guinea. But again, also sometimes also we have very corrupt religious, not religious, but I mean political leaders who also are, receive orders from multinationals or receive orders from also from other governments. But I mean, fortunately, here in Senegal, I mean, it's a very democratic country. We can voice our ideas without being threatened. And so, we can talk. We can just say, no, we don't agree,
We pray for you, we're together, and we're very happy hearing this. We feel you are us in Africa. And we hope to be together if you are like brothers, and you smile and joke each other.
Yes. Because happiness, peace, as people say, it's already in the mind. It's
That's it.
Yeah. I have just received a written question about, but very quickly, about immigration. We have realized in the eco-villages that we create, the youth do not travel, to go to other places. And even in some villages like Ndem, the population is growing because they can find work, they can find more comfort in their own places.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Andreas, how we are with the time?
See,
about time.
I think we're good. If you have one more question that you're so excited to ask, I think there's time. But if you're ready to open up to a public questions, I think that's fine too. So I leave it up to you, Lama.
I would like to ask a final question then about the connection with the Gandhi movement. The idea of Gandhi was really to make a kind of it came back to the idea of the small communities and a federation of small communities, each one find the solutions to itself, and each one being helped and helping each other of the communities, do you feel following these ideas also? Do you think that we can do this in Senegal, and we can do this in some sense in our world wide aspect, like the cities and the communities helping each other and sharing each other? Do you feel this as possible, really?
Yeah, thank you. And then one important also precision I would like also to add. I mean, of course, we use the concept eco-village, but I mean, this concept is a name in French or in English, but actually it covers the realities of African communities before colonization, before all this, modernization. If you go, for example, to a small village like Munduai, at lunchtime, when it comes to, so you are the guest of everyone. Everyone will bring you a portion of food. And at night, they will gather around you to tell you the stories. And when someone in the community wants, to build a house, the whole community that comes together to help you build the house. If you want to harvest your field, so people also come together and go and support you. When there are like funerals, people also come and share your grief, and then you don't feel alone in this. For marriages, people also share the cost of all this. And so at the community level, this is already possible. And also at between communities, there are also alliances. And of course, the ideas of Mahatma Gandhi are very, very important, because it's nonviolence, it's a fraternal love. And so we feel as Africans that these are real African, values, real African ideas and concepts that we own, we possess. So we find, ways to live these values in our everyday day life. And of course, here we would love, to connect with the CEB communities to create some twinships so that people can travel in different directions, learn, grow together, and embrace each other. So again, Africa is far away from what the media conveys. It's not a country. We're not countries of wars, so they are very, very, very peaceful and full of love. And then we're open also to embrace other communities like yours, so that we can really learn together, live together in harmony, and very, very peaceful.
And we're together, really. You have a home here. You have a house here. We can come also. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Same thing. Thank you, Lama. Thank you. Deeply appreciated. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.